Venice has always been a city shaped by water, light, and human rhythm. Every century left its own mark on the canals, the plazas, and the people who move through them. In this video, we step into Venice and look at the city the way people actually experienced it. If you enjoy this kind of history, make sure to subscribe and tell me in the comments what place or era you want to see next. This Bellini painting gives us a rare look at Venice at the turn of the 16th century. The city feels alive and tightly packed, with its tall stone buildings rising straight from the water. People crowd the canal's edge and line the bridge, watching a quiet ceremony unfold below. Gondolas drift through the scene, already a familiar part of daily life. The water is calm, but the energy around it is not. You can almost hear voices carrying across the canal. It captures a moment when Venice was powerful, proud, and convinced its way of life would last forever. This Joan Bleu map shows Venice at a moment when it was still a major power, but beginning to feel pressure from shifting trade routes. From above, the city looks like a maze of tight streets wrapped around the Grand Canal's long S-curve. The rooftops are packed together, almost touching, and the entire city seems to float on open water. Ships crowd the lagoon, some heading out toward the Adriatic, others ferrying goods to the island markets. What you see here is a working city, built on trade, movement, and constant negotiation with the sea. This engraving captures one of the most intense naval clashes of the 1600s, when the Venetian fleet confronted the Ottoman navy at the Dardanelles. The scene is crowded with galleys and warships firing at close range. Smoke hangs low over the water, and you can almost sense the chaos of crews shouting, cannons firing, and ships grinding against each other. Venice fought hard to control these straits because they were the key to trade routes and power in the eastern Mediterranean. For a moment in 1656, the Republic held the upper hand, and this artwork freezes that brief advantage in stark detail. This illustration from the Atlante Veneto shows a Venetian galleass in full detail. These ships were the pride of Venice's navy. They combined the firepower of a sailing warship with the maneuverability of a galley, giving the Republic a real advantage in Mediterranean warfare. You can see the tall masts, the heavy banks of oars, and the raised platforms built for cannons. The artist captures the ship cutting through rough water with a sense of confidence, as if nothing could challenge it. By the late 1600s, galleasses were symbols of Venetian engineering and the maritime power that shaped the city's history. This painting captures Venice at the height of its confidence. Van Wittel gives us a wide, calm view of the Bacino di San Marco, where daily life and ceremony blend into one scene. Boats slide across the water with an easy rhythm, while merchants, sailors, and locals move through the foreground, as if nothing about this view is unusual. The Doge's palace and the Campanile rise behind them, steady and familiar. Even in the late 1600s, Venice felt both ancient and alive. Van Wittel shows a city that understood its own beauty and carried it with quiet pride. This painting shows Venice settling into its evening rhythm. The dome at the center anchors the skyline, surrounded by rows of warm, compact buildings that sit right at the edge of the water. Gondolas drift across the canal at an unhurried pace, each one carrying people who seem completely at ease with the sitter's floating life. Nothing in the scene is dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and lived in. By the late 1600s, Venice was no longer the fierce maritime power it once was, but it remained a place where daily life moved with grace and a kind of unspoken confidence. This scene captures the Rialto area as a working heart of Venice. Canaletto shows the square alive with vendors, shoppers, and people moving through their daily routines. The old church of San Giacomo stands at the center with its large clock, a familiar anchor in a place built on constant motion. You can feel how practical life was here. Goods were traded, news was shared, and the city's rhythm played out in the open. Even in the quiet tones of the drawing, the Rialto feels energetic, grounded, and unmistakably Venetian. This painting gives you a clear sense of Venice as a lived-in, working city. The Rio dei Mendicanti cuts through the scene like a quiet backbone, lined with long, pale facades on one side and weathered, irregular buildings on the other. Gondolas slip through the water as people gather along the edges, talking, waiting, or simply passing by. Nothing feels staged. You see laundry hanging, small repairs underway, and residents who know every corner of this canal. The light is soft and open, and it carries the feeling of an ordinary Venetian day, captured with honesty and patience. This painting captures Venice at one of its most iconic points, where the Grand Canal opens toward the Basilica di Santa Maria della Salute. The scene feels bright and open, with sunlight hitting the dome and the long lines of palaces that frame the water. Gondolas move in every direction, each carrying people going about their day. Some appear to be traveling, others are talking or waiting. The calm water reflects the sky, which feels wide and clear. The whole view shows Venice as elegant but full of life, a place shaped by constant movement and daily routine rather than ceremony. Francesco Guardi paints San Giorgio Maggiore with a calm, open atmosphere that feels both real and slightly dreamlike. The church sits bright and steady on the horizon, its pale dome catching the light. In the foreground, boats crowd the water, each one carrying people who look absorbed in simple daily tasks. Some row, some unload goods, some talk across the decks. The mix of soft sky, shifting reflections, and quiet movement gives the scene a relaxed rhythm. Guardi shows Venice as a working city shaped by routine and tide, not just a place of grand landmarks. Carlo Varese captures the Piazzetta at its busiest, with people moving in every direction. You can feel the mix of locals, merchants, and visitors crossing paths under the steady light of a clear day. The tall column anchors the scene, and beyond it, the Punta della Dogana sits across the water with calm confidence. The buildings on the right rise with sharp detail, their arches and shadows giving the space depth and weight. The painting feels like a quiet pause inside a moving city. Carlo Varese shows Venice as a social stage where architecture, conversation, and daily life blend together. Joly's painting opens with a calm stretch of water that carries the eye straight toward the soft horizon. The Punta della Dogana sits solidly on the left, its tower catching the morning light, while San Giorgio Maggiore rises across the basin with its clean lines and pale dome. Boats drift in and out of the frame, each one adding a small rhythm to the stillness of the scene. People linger along the waterfront, talking, watching, waiting. The whole view feels open and steady, almost like Venice is taking a slow breath. Joly shows the city as a place shaped by water, light, and quiet movement. This scene captures Venice at its most ceremonial. The facade of the Scuola Grande di San Rocco rises behind the crowd, dressed with banners and draped fabric for the annual celebration. People fill the square in bright, layered clothing, moving in clusters, talking, watching the procession unfold. Musicians, clergy, and onlookers all share the same space, giving the moment a lively, almost theatrical energy. The warm light softens the buildings and pulls the whole scene together. It's a snapshot of Venice as a city that lived through ritual, community, and spectacle, turning even an ordinary square into a stage. This painting gives you a quiet but vivid look at everyday life along the Fondamenta Nuove. The buildings line the waterfront in a long, steady row, their pale walls catching the muted light. Small boats move slowly across the calm water, their sails and canopies reflecting how people traveled, worked, and lived along these canals. You can see the Ospedale and the church of San Lazzaro dei Mendicanti in the distance, anchoring the scene with their solid forms. It feels like a moment frozen between routine and beauty, showing Venice not in celebration, but simply as it was, busy, worn, and unmistakably alive.